Welcome back to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
As usual, I'm Max.
I'm Nicky.
And I'm Nickon.
And together we're Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
Should I say and I'm Nickon, or should I say comma I'm Nickon, so that the last thing is an and together we're?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think I usually just do comma.
No.
Nickon.
You say and I'm Nickon because it would be like they're two separate kind of parts of the phrase. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it works if he just says, comma, I'm Nickon.
It depends on the inflection, right? Because it's like, I'm Max, I'm Nicky, I'm Nickon, and together.
Right. Or it could also be, I'm Max, I'm Nicky, I'm Nickon, and together.
Well, he just did that.
I kind of did that. You're right. Yeah. Never mind.
Or you could just go, I'm Max, I'm Nicky, I'm Nickon. You know,
period,
and together.
Yeah, that's what I meant to do.
Yeah,
I did.
Well, either way works. As long as I have approval on both options, that's
you have approval.
I'm comfortable.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Great. So how are we doing, Nickon? How's it going?
Not bad. Hey, let's roll that. Nah. I was trying to segue into Grammar Corner, but it was just the moment was lost.
Whoa, that would have been. Okay.
Well, because we were doing grammar-y stuff. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's right. You're right. We were doing grammar stuff.
Yeah, but the moment's passed.
But I will tell you, man, I went outside today. I got lunch with a friend, and it was such a beautiful day. But then my allergy. I don't get bad allergies like Nicky does, but I just started having really bad allergies.
So you do get bad allergies?
No, but not as bad as you. I don't normally get allergies this bad, but my eyes started itching, and then I started feeling something in my nose, and I started coughing, and I was like, oh my God, I got to put my mask on, actually. It protected me from the elements, but my eyes are still itching.
Shoot.
It's particularly bad for me right now. I fear going outside.
Do you mask up? Do you mask up going outside? Just
I have been, yeah. I don't like to do that
wow.
because it's warm outside, but
that's
it
the
helps.
worst.
It's also nice to feel, it's nice to feel the breeze on your face
or the sun.
And also, you
face.
look like a hypochondriac who's still like obsessed with COVID.
Well,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
I do not talk down about people.
I'm okay with doing that inside
I'm not
too.
talking down. I'm just saying that's another thing.
Well,
I mean, I still wear masks inside, depending on the situation.
Depending on the situation,
yeah. I don't judge you for that. I'm just saying it does. Wearing it outside in the middle of the summer.
Wearing outside seems a
little
weird. It just seemed a little weird, but I just was like, I got to do it.
It's like you haven't read this. It's like you haven't read up on the updated science since the first week of COVID.
Sure.
Well, I just your mask outside.
I just was like, my allergies are just hitting me so hard right now. I just need to do this.
It's pretty tough out there. It's hard out there for a pimp, as they say.
What if a pimp had allergies and he couldn't be on his like street corner because he's like, I can't do this. I gotta go back inside.
My allergies. My allergies.
Do you not get allergies, Nickon?
I do sometimes. It's not like it's very it's like every few days out of the year I'll have like a really bad day. Other than that,
sure.
Georgie girl.
Hey there, Georgie girl. Hey there, Blimpy boy.
Did I just zoom in on my own camera? What is happening?
You sure did.
Can you?
You did?
What's happening? Yeah.
What?
I don't know how to.
On Instagram?
I think you might have switched.
What the heck?
I think you might have switched
the angle.
The angle.
Yeah. All right. There we go. There I am again.
Hey
Thank
there,
God.
Blimpy boy.
That was intolerable. What? Station business?
We didn't do that yet, but okay.
No.
Station business?
Kind of prompting you to do.
Station business.
Station business.
Okay, we got any business coming up? Nickon.
Sorry, Nicky.
The only business, again, as a partner in this proprietorship called Onus Optics, that is the business I am slanging these days.
Onus Optics, check it out, folks.
Get your nose umbrellas. You need an umbrella for your nose to protect it from the sun and
the elements. For that. we have another Vintage Basement show coming up next month. We are not exactly sure of the date yet, but look out for that in the coming weeks. We just had a Vintage Basement this past Saturday. And prior to the show, man, my allergies were going off. Speaking of allergies.
How'd you get through the show?
What's that?
How'd you get through the show with your allergies? Did you
it was inside.
It was inside.
Okay.
I'll tell you, it really hit me after the show a lot worse.
that's kind of lucky.
And, of course, we sing on our shows, and my throat was itching. You know how you get an itchy throat from allergies?
Yeah.
Well, that was
What do you
happening.
do to resolve your itchy throat? Do you do any? What do you do to? If you have,
What do you do to scratch your itch in your throat if you have allergies?
I just drink water if I have access to it. Ideally with bubbles.
And excuse me if this is annoying to the audience, but do you ever go?
Not if I can. I mean, it depends. Like if I'm in a not like.
What do you do, Max?
I do this. This is what I do.
Oh, that's so annoying.
I can't even hear it.
You can't hear it?
No, he wouldn't be. Hi, Cammy.
Oh no, you can't hear from.
Well, I go like I do that. I go.
Let me go here.
What?
Can you hear that?
You do that? You do that? That does that? That
That's
does
weird.
something?
Folks, if
Yeah,
you're just
I'm
joining us, we're
scratching
talking
my
about
itch.
how to scratch an itch due to allergies, and
No,
that's
in
a
your
weird.
throat. Scratch your throat. Scratch your throat itch.
And that works.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's weird to
That's
me
pretty
too.
cool. So you have like you're basically treating part of your throat as like a little finger.
Well, it kind of
Scratch
has to.
the other part of your throat.
It involves. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
All right,
Something
well-
like that. Yeah.
I can't even do it if I. I might choke.
Well, it involves your tongue, sort of, in a way. Like it's like you're.
Oh, that's a
pushing-
good one. Cammy said, "I just cough it out." That's a good idea.
A great idea.
Anyway, hey Bryce. Anyway, okay, so station business pretty lean today.
Very lean, I'd say.
Oh, lean. Yeah.
Any okay, so that brings us right to Grammar Corner. Grammar Corner.
I got a
Grammar
couple of
Corner.
gripes.
Du-du-du-du-du-du-du.
Oh, sorry to cut off the jingle.
You can't cut off the jingle.
Do it again, Nicky.
My
Do
timing
it
is off
again.
tonight.
Grammar
Do it-
Corner. Grammar Corner. Du-du-du-du-du-du-du-du.
There we
There
go.
it is.
I got a couple gripes.
Go ahead.
Since you were being all braggadocious about how you went to France once when you were in college, I
Once?
studied. I don't know, I'm just
There
kidding.
for a year.
I studied abroad in Italy,
Oh, you
and
did. I didn't even know that.
and
actually.
well, I shouldn't even premise it. I shouldn't even preface it by saying this, because you need not have studied in Italy to know these things that just piss me off so much. Okay, first of all,
How long were you there?
I was there for about a year.
Okay.
Okay, they're all food related. They're all pronunciation related.
Sorry, where did you study in Italy?
Bologna. It's not important.
Well,
It's important to me.
It's important to me.
It's
was-
actually
I studied
it's
in
pronounced
Bologna.
bologna. Thank you very much.
I studied in phony Bologna for a year. It was
you
great.
have some of that bolognese sauce.
Let me finish the story.
It's bolognese, actually, which is
Oh,
a good,
excusez-moi.
yes, it's actually excusez-moi. It's actually scusi. Okay, how do you pronounce there's a food that's usually served as an
Pizza.
appetizer. Little slices of
Bruschetta.
I say
Bruschetta.
bruschetta. I say bruschetta.
I say bruschetta personally.
Why? Why do you say bruschetta?
Because
Just
I
grew
learned
up-
that as a young.
as
That's how
a-
I was. My mom said it that way, but I know it's bruschetta.
Max learned it as a young lass.
I knew that it was. I know that it's bruschetta.
Hey,
Right?
it's bruschetta.
No,
And you
I
don't
know
have to do the
it's bruschetta.
bruschetta, but it's
Bruschetta.
definitely not bruschetta.
No, I
It's-
know.
But it's like, why do it then? It's
Okay.
It just sounds
Okay.
Okay.
Can I say this?
Okay.
Can I say this then?
There's a lots of things.
There's a lot of scenes
I
for
can
French
say
too.
that.
Then why do we
Sure,
say
okay.
why do we say crepe and not crepe. It's very easy to just say crepe.
It's very easy to say bruschetta. You don't have to say bruschetta.
But what I'm saying is
bruschetta. But you can say you can make the sound
bruschetta.
Bruschetta.
It almost sounds Russian.
There's
Bruski.
an SNL sketch from the early '90s where Jimmy Smits was hosting, and he plays like a Latino guy. He is Latino, obviously, and the whole office that he's in is white, and they're all ordering Mexican food, and they can only understand an order if it's overpronounced. Like, I'll take a burrito.
A burrito.
But Jimmy Smits, who's the only Latino guy, he's like, yeah, I'll take a couple tacos and a burrito. And they're like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. I don't understand what that is. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I'll take a burrito. And he's like...
Well, and they were like, yeah, I was just traveling from Los Angeles. And they kept like doing all these...
overpronunciation. It's a funny sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
Bruschetta. I know. Hey, side note, I have a great funny story when I was in Rome.
How did you turn his brag into a brag of your own?
Well, I wasn't bragging. I'm just saying, stop saying bruschetta.
No, when I was in Rome, I have a story about bruschetta.
Rome. Wow.
Or as we Romans say, Roma, right? Roma.
I was in Rome, and I ate dinner. I had like some sort of gnocchi dish, and it was pretty good, but I was still hungry after I left the restaurant. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just stop somewhere and get like an appetizer. And so I did. I went to this little place and I ordered bruschetta. And the lady at the counter, she didn't speak English at all. And I was like, oh, bruschetta. And she's like, how do you say coffee?
Nescafe.
Cafe. She's like, cafe. I was like, oh, no. She's like, Coca-Cola. I said, no, it's okay. Just bruschetta. And it was really cold, so I had a lot of layers on, and I looked like some poor student, though. I was unshaven. I was walking around with my plastic bag full of things. And so I sat down, and she's like, okay, just a few minutes. And I sat down, and a few minutes later, she brings out a Coca-Cola, some bruschetta, and what are those like balls full of cheese and or like maybe not cheese, but they're like a creamy thing. It's
kind of bigger though, right?
It's a savory thing,
Oh, like an arancini.
Arancini, yeah. And she brought those, and she might have brought one other thing. I was like, oh, well, I just ordered the bruschetta, and she said she managed to be able to say, on the house. I was like, what? I was like, oh, wow, that's so nice of you. And I think she assumed that I was some poor student that couldn't afford more food. And so she gave that to me, and I ate it all. And at the end of that, I was like, so how much do I owe? And she's like, free. It's free. I was like, what? No, I got to pay you something. And she brought somebody from the back of the kitchen who spoke English, and he said, hey, it's okay. You don't have to pay. I was like, oh my God. I mean, thank you so much. It's so nice of you, And it was one of the few, it was one of those times where I just was like, man, there is some human decency here in the world, Even though I could have afforded paying for it, they were really nice. Very nice Italians there.
Can I describe, since you had to experience some nice human beings abroad, can I describe a time that happened to me?
I guess.
So I was traveling in London. I went to London.
Oh, you were traveling in London. Because we're pronouncing everything else like that. Never mind.
I went to, not that I would normally do this, I'm not religious at all, but I just thought, it might be cool to go. It was Christmas Eve, and I thought, it might be cool and kind of somehow a very kind of English thing to do to maybe go to St. Paul's Cathedral, which is, a really big cathedral in London, for a midnight mass. And I thought, okay, that might be kind of cool. And I went there, and after it was done, I was kind of in a hostel that was kind of further out from the city center, and the trains had stopped running. It was Christmas Eve. I mean, it was actually Christmas Day technically at that point. And I was like, oh my God, how the heck do I get home? And a cab was going to be quite a bit of money. I even asked the policeman, I was like, is there a way like one of you guys can drive me back to this place? And they're like, oh no, sorry. I don't know. I can't really do the accent, but.
You're doing great.
He said, sorry, we can't leave our spot here, And I finally hailed a cab and I said, how much would, I had like 10 pounds on me. And I was like, how much would 10 pounds get me to? And he's like, probably to the end of the block. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, all right, just get in. We'll see what we can do. And he kept driving me, and I was like, all right, like, I guess he can stop here and let me out at a certain point. He drove me all the way back to my hostel, and I got out, and I said, how much do I owe? I was like, here's the 10 pounds. And he's like, forget about it, mate. Merry Christmas. He drove me all that way for free, and I thought that was really cool.
Nice.
What a Christmas story.
Yeah.
Here,
guys, these aren't podcast stories. These aren't.
But that's a good addition to the grammar corner. But I do want to mention one thing, kind of related to last week.
Even though you guys both kind of like undermined it, and we're like, nah, we say shit. We don't give a shit.
The
other thing. Okay, so there's another one related to Italian.
Okay.
Do you know the pressed sandwiches?
We lost. We forgot. We don't have any gripes anymore for English grammar. Now we have to go to other languages.
These came up. The pressed sandwich.
Panini. I know what you're going to say.
Panini.
Go ahead.
And what do you call one of those?
Panino. Yes, I know.
Yes.
But we still say panini. And
we say, oh, yeah, I got a panini maker. Oh, you got a sandwiches maker. You got sandwiches. You got a breads maker. You're saying this the plural, and it's infuriating.
Do you say panino when you order a panino?
Of course I say panino. I say I will have a panino unless I'm ordering two panini. I mean, it's insanity.
You might say it's insane in the membranous region. I like to say.
Know about that.
I will say this though. So you know how last week I brought up how I saw a couple people going, or somebody saying something along the lines of Max and I's trip to
Yes.
Washington D.C.
Yeah, I feel like we've done this one a few times. But yeah.
No, I saw something recent. I saw something in the past week that somebody did this, which is really weird. Maybe I brought it up before. They did something along the lines of Max and My's trip to Los Angeles.
That's just pure insanity.
Isn't that insane?
That is.
Why would you think that's correct?
That's what, because we're doing this on Zoom, you might say that's virtual insanity right there.
Max and My's trip? I mean, that's
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. It was annoying to see.
Max and My's trip. But I understand how they got to that point, though.
Well, anyway, any other...
Yeah, I get the journey, but it's all wrong. It's all just...
And while we're talking about beefs, I got to say, I've heard this quite a bit lately, maybe from one person in particular, but quite frankly. So I'm starting to hate that expression now.
Oh, why? Because of...
Because it's overused.
No, because of... what's his name?
Right, yeah, exactly.
What's his name?
John Mulaney? To John Mulaney?
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green has a podcast. He's a player for the Golden State Warriors, and he says that I don't listen to the podcast, but Nicky is constantly listening to basketball, so I overhear it all the time, and he's always going, quite frankly, I don't think these guys, blah, blah. He's always saying, quite frankly. It's all the time. It's like, oh, my God. Were you going to lie to us at some point? Is that why you need to say that?
Well, the thing is
or not even not lie. Just you don't have to lie to not be talking frankly.
I know, right?
Quite frankly.
Yeah. But, speaking of that tip, actually, this isn't a grammar thing, but I'm starting to hate when people say essentially. It makes it sound like you're trying to, and I've been guilty of saying essentially in the past, but starting to not like it because it's like you're trying to make yourself sound more dignified, or what you're about to say more, maybe smarter,
More
or
elevated,
or eloquent. And I just think it's just a filler word that doesn't really mean much. Like, you don't need to say that,
All right, we've had enough of it. We've had enough of it.
And we've had enough of Grammar Corner for today.
But interestingly enough, I don't mind the word basically, because basically doesn't sound that elevated, so it doesn't sound like you're trying to sound elevated.
Right. That makes sense.
All right. Well, guys, let's get into the main crux of the episode. All right. So what are we going to do for our main topic, guys?
Well, I was thinking, I came up with this idea right before we started, and it kind of fits in with our international talk actually right now. But what is your favorite
cuisine?
Is it, French, Italian, English,
Mexican?
perhaps, Mexican? Or is it an Asian style?
So that's a topic for debate.
Idea.
I don't know how much debate we're going to get out of that, though. I mean, I think we'll probably all agree that those things are good,
Yeah, but what do you think is the best?
I know, but this is totally opinion-based.
I know. Just thought I'd throw it out there. I mean, I can say Mexican may be my favorite.
Probably me too. Anyway, Nickon, any topics that you have in mind?
Let's see. What do I got here?
Japanese is very good, Cammy, yes.
What's that?
I just said Japanese is very good, Cammy.
Japanese is good. I mean, all the cuisines of the world are pretty good. We could talk about cuisines that are just irredeemably meh.
Like what?
I don't know. I gotta think. I think. Oh, you know what? I think Korean barbecue is super overrated.
I do too. Too.
I kind of do too.
You know what?
Ah, damn it!
Every time people are always telling me, they're like, "You just haven't had great Korean barbecue," and then they take me to their place, and I'm like, just as I expected. My clothes smell now because they had to make it in front of us, and it was fine.
It was fine.
I mean, sometimes it's pretty
just fine.
Sometimes
it's
good. Sometimes it can be good and it's filling, but it doesn't blow me away. Like,
it's usually overpriced too these days.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, definitely.
So it's not much debate there. Because it's just an objective truth.
Okay,
you heard it here first.
Here is a very specific topic for debate.
Okay,
I say that the only good seasons of The Simpsons are seasons 1 through 8. After that, it's a different show and it's not good anymore. Would you care to debate that?
Yeah, but that's who's going to take the other side of that? How
No,
about when we do the appropriation?
You seem to always like to.
No, I'm not even gonna. I'm not. That's indefensible. Let's do appropriation.
Okay.
Oh, man, this is we should have somebody else here, I feel.
No, we're not. Listen, first of all, we're not even talking about a specific culture in this debate. Like, you can.
That's true.
Should, and you shouldn't be afraid to, by the way.
But you shouldn't be afraid of what?
Talk about it.
I am happy to talk about it, but I feel like
Max, you're too afraid. You gotta not be afraid.
I'm not afraid. I'm saying I feel, though, that we should have somebody from a culture that might be appropriate.
We're all from minority cultures. I'm Persian. You guys are.
We're half Filipino and half Jewish, which is also minority.
I mean, I haven't seen anyone.
We all read. Someone would argue we all read white, which, okay.
But, although, actually, to be honest, I
mean, really, what are you talking about? Nickon
I wouldn't read
Persian.
you as white. Actually, I mean.
So I've gotten it from people like, oh, really? You can't, like, it's the whole, like, you're not allowed to do this or that because you read white type of thing.
Is it because of the way you talk? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I think it's because I don't.
What does that even mean?
I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with that.
I'm aware.
I don't even agree with that.
I'm aware that certain people feel that way, and therefore I gotta at least say it. But I don't agree with it.
Well, then let's. I like it. Let's do it.
All right, let's get kind of controversial here, I guess. Okay.
We haven't even said anything
said
yet.
anything.
I'm
yet.
just saying, I'm putting it out there. Disclaimer: this might be a controversial episode.
It's not going to
No.
be controversial because unless you're going to make it controversial.
Just for that, Max, just for that, you have to take the pro-appropriation side.
Well, I have a lot to say. What do you mean? That's easy, actually, to take
Pro-appropriation? Yeah, if you're pro-appropriation.
So you're pro-appropriation? You're
Oh, so you're
pro-appropriation?
pro-appropriation? Wow.
I drink
And you-
Propecia. Is that what it was called?
Okay,
Propecia?
so
Is that what it's called?
So who's taking what sides? I think what Nicky was the referee last time, so
I
can be
was the referee.
Oh, very easy for you, Nickon. I'm going to come up with this idea of appropriation, and I just will be the
I'll be
neutral person.
pro-appropriation. I'm not a what? Okay, fine. You want to be? Yeah. Okay, so Max referee.
Okay, sure.
Max seems the
But are
most
you gonna
uncomfortable to talk.
Are you going to be a just referee? Or are you going to?
No, I'll chime in for sure. I'll chime in
Okay.
for sure. I already have stuff to say, actually.
Okay. So, Nicky, what do you want? What side do you want to take?
I got to take pro on this one.
Okay.
Really?
All right, I'll
Okay.
I'll take anti because I'm pro myself, but for the sake of the argument, which
I will say for
Well,
the most part, I would say.
the referee is doing the opening.
Well, no, but I'm just.
What is this?
I'm not. It's not open saying, but I'm
What
just
is
doing.
this?
I'm just doing what you just did. You said I am actually pro, but I'm going to take for the sake of it. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of times I will say I am pro, but there are specific times, and I can understand why that would be. I would
Well, listen,
hesitate
let's
to
all-
do that actually. Yeah.
As we always do, let's start with some baseline. Like we're not saying. I'm not saying appropriation is. We're not talking about like blackface. That's not appropriation.
No,
right?
that's not a. I don't
Yes.
consider that appropriation. That's
No,
not
no,
something
yes.
I
know.
I
We're
would
all
never
going
even.
on record.
I didn't.
against
I wouldn't even have
blackface.
gone there. But I mean, I'm saying.
I know,
like,
but I'm just saying, like, why are you like? There's a reason you're kind of like cowering away from the topic, and I just like I think a lot of people
No.
associate the word appropriation with things like blackface, which is maybe it's on the spectrum.
I wouldn't
don't
even
know.
put it. I would put that as just something separate.
Somebody
actually.
might say like dreadlocks is a form of appropriation, though.
If
Okay, let's start with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that or cornrows even actually.
Or cornrows.
Anyway.
Sure, yeah, okay,
Okay.
That's-
Well,
but
okay.
but let's define it a little then. So it's definitely not blackface. Who wants to define appropriation?
I would
try.
say just it's taking from another culture
well, yeah.
and
Yeah.
using it to
period.
benefit yourself.
Not necessarily benefit.
Not. I don't know. How would you describe it? I don't know.
Yeah, I would just I think it's just at its core taking from a culture that isn't yours. Taking not pillaging, taking elements from a culture that isn't yours and then incorporating it into your own
Identity
I don't know, expression, identity.
or expression.
But in a
Or
lot
your
of
own
ways,
culture, but
in a lot of ways, you're celebrated. Anyway, that would okay.
well,
Do
actually,
we vaguely agree on that?
yeah,
So,
but
like
just
yeah,
as a side note, it's kind of interesting to see this on Wikipedia's article. They're already putting something negative in their definition on Wikipedia, saying cultural appropriation is the inappropriate or unacknowledged
What?
adoption of an.
I don't agree with that
and so that's an
definition.
interesting thing that Wikipedia put in there. I mean,
well,
again,
somebody
Wikipedia
put in Wikipedia.
Yeah, anyone
Wikipedia
could.
is- yeah.
Anyone could. Change a Wikipedia just so you know.
Well, anyway,
So.
Well, let's react to that, Nicky. That could be your starting argument.
okay. Well, first of all, I don't think appropriation has to be negative. It's in a lot of cases, it's positive. People who are appropriating something from another culture are often celebrating that thing, and I'll take music for an example. As an example, people got down on a lot of '60s rock music for appropriating blues music, which came from the African American experience, and yes, often that stuff wasn't credited, and I do agree that maybe credit should be put toward the thing that you're appropriating from, but I do think that the evolution of culture is combining influences from different cultures. You know, I mean, it's not, you're not going to be uniquely one thing. And even look at me and Max, we're mutts as far as our racial makeup goes. And so we're influenced even in our own genetics by a myriad of, or not a myriad, but by different traits. God, I'm losing here.
Well, just I understand. You're basically saying we get influence from other things, and we choose to incorporate certain things from different parts of our identity into our own experience.
Right, and as we evolve as people, there's just going to be more influences from different aspects of different cultures. I would say right now, hip hop is probably the biggest form of pop.
Time. You're saying. I mean, there's a lot of good points here, but that's a good opening statement already as it stands.
All right,
Nickon, your opening statement.
Opening statements. This is a tough one to take this side on. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
I guess I would say.
Oh, I'm done on my thing here. Actually,
okay.
Your phone's dead.
Yeah. Or there's not enough. Yeah.
I guess I would say, okay, here's my concern with the slippery slope that appropriation leads you down, which is that if we can't hold certain elements of our cultures close to our hearts or whatever, close to our identities, then over time they will lose their potency and they will just become kind of I don't want to say whitewashed, because that
I wouldn't say that
demonizes the whites, but yeah, it kind of it blunts the uniqueness of those cultural touchstones, and and then also the I don't know, I don't agree with any of this shit that I'm saying. Like, I would not
everything you're saying I could argue against right now. Yeah,
Nicky,
I know. And
all right, it's interesting.
That basically Nickon, what he just said is almost
go. Wait, what?
Can I? Because Nicky, you were like touching on this thing about like, well, you should. Damn, the whole video is choppy. Well, Nicky, you were saying like, well, in certain cases you should give credit to those from whom you've appropriated or whatever. But it's like, even that, like, where do you draw the line? Like,
right? No, I agree with you. Nickon. When people, what you just said,
this is going to be a short debate, guys.
The way you just said, I would argue against it by saying, you're basically arguing for the purification of cultures, which is a bad thing. That's kind of like that's kind of regressing in society,
in evolution.
Actually. And so I would say that the natural flow of evolution is that we do incorporate different characteristics from different cultures, and that's just the way when I was in France, my homestay mother once said, and something I disagree with, she said, they say by the year 2050 that there will be more Muslims in France than Catholics. And she said, isn't that a terrible thing? And I was thinking to myself, no, that's just part of the way things evolve. I mean, at one point, Muslim or Islam was the predominant religion in that part of the world, during the Ottoman Empire, and so
this might require further study, but I'm just looking at the Wikipedia that Max referenced, and I'm trying to find like a foothold. Like I'm trying to think. Okay, I can't think of a good argument. Maybe it's in Wikipedia, and there isn't. There's no. It's all just like
those are words that have never been spoken.
Well,
considered harmful. Yeah.
Can I show?
Wait, hold on. Let him finish.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Well, I thought he
I
was
don't know.
still looking.
It's all just weak, feely. Like I don't know.
Well, can I do? I'll put something out there. What about? Let's talk about cornrows or dreadlocks. Now,
Sure.
Throughout a lot of media's history, black people have been made to feel that their hair was not good enough the way it was. You know, you'd see images of straight hair for the longest time, and the way that maybe certain black people had, I don't want to say, well, maybe coped with that or thought, okay, I'm going to try to make my hair that has been perceived as not beautiful, try to make it look beautiful by turning it, using, making it into cornrows or
Afro.
That, I would say Afro, that was kind of in the 70s or late 60s when they started to embrace.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
That was like,
I think I figured it out. I think the part that we are perhaps being insensitive to is that exactly what you're speaking to.
Yes,
Max, which is like, I've spent my whole life being told I don't look good enough or whatever. And now there's this white guy. No, I'm saying as a black, whatever.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right.
And now there's this blonde kid who's got his hair in dreadlocks. And it's less of like a rational, like, well, okay, he should be able to do that. Or like, oh, maybe he's like, he admires a certain aesthetic and he's copying it. But to me, that individual, not me, because I'm, what I'm feeling is a resentment about all this shit that I have to deal with, and I can't escape through my blondness or whiteness. And this kid is just, treating it like a whole whatever, like it's a temporary tattoo, for him to
right. That's a great.
They're utilizing this thing, to try and make themselves. It's like, exactly what you just said.
Whatever the reason is, whatever you want to rationalize it as, like, oh, it's a form of admiration, or like, oh, there's clearly something that like he admires about your culture or whatever. I don't care about that, because what I am experiencing, not me again, this person.
It came out of struggle, basically. Yeah, it came out of it came out of feeling inferior, basically.
And what sparked that for me is in this Wikipedia thing. I'm looking at a picture of a white blonde woman wearing like a t-shirt and sexy shorts and like a Native American headpiece.
Oh my goodness!
And
see, that's also
And on some level, I'm like, okay, it's an aesthetic thing, whatever, blah blah blah. But then I read the word disrespectful, and it's like, oh, it's because it's like in that culture, you don't just put on a headpiece because you like the way it looks.
Right.
Like,
it's a symbolic thing.
It's a symbolic thing that,
and also
earned and has a lot of.
It's earned,
yeah, like spiritual and respect tied to it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of, I don't know.
Well, okay, here's the thing about it. I've got some things to say. On the one hand, yes, I agree that can be just perceived as disrespectful. And in fact, if you look at the movie 10 with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek is famous for having these braided, or these like cornrows kind of braids as a white, beautiful woman running down, blue-eyed woman running down the beach.
I mean, she is beautiful.
And she is. And this was in the late 70s, and you could say, yes, she's appropriating this, what would be commonly held to be
character. That's also a character, right? So
right. Well, but
as is Gary Oldman's character in True Romance,
right? But no. But
that's different. That's different. That's different.
Her character was iconic. Her running down the beach, that was on posters,
as the kind of epitome of beauty, basically,
sex symbol, And so, but I do think in the long run, over time, as we evolve, I think those things that were maybe thought of as offensive at one point I think eventually appropriating those things, we're going to get past a point where things will just mix, and it doesn't matter what you do or how you talk or how you look. It's just going to be an aesthetic thing. If you like the way you look, that's fine.
Well,
if you don't,
I
then
will
you
say
don't.
yes in that.
I think we agree there.
I think yes in that now, I would say black people are made to feel, well, I don't know, maybe not all the time, and it's still, we still need progress there, but they've embraced their hair more often now, and say, hey, this looks beautiful too. And so I think maybe, as you said, Nicky, maybe as more time goes by, people will just think of braids as just, it's not appropriating any culture thing, but it's just an option, basically.
Sure. I think that is the hope, and that is, like, again, the rationalist view and the ideal state of things. But I just come back to the current state of things,
right?
Where history is still very much hasn't been dealt with properly.
Right,
there still is a lot of pain, and there still is a lot of frustration and resentment, and it's all, we can't. So while yes, we should all strive to be in a whatever, like, everybody
utopian kind of.
Sam Harris likes to say, we all, we think about the color of each other's skin the same way we think about the color of each other's hair, right? Like, nobody's like concerned about whether Harvard has a certain number of redheads in its graduating class, right? So that is the goal, but we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
That,
no.
Okay.
All I would argue is that we should be a little more sensitive when practicing appropriation with care.
Sure. Well, it's interesting.
Sure.
This one time I was on Facebook several years ago, and this friend of mine shared an article from Pitchfork about a girl who had said that she liked Vampire Weekend's music, but felt uncomfortable liking it because they appropriated these African sounds, and with music, but I want to say, with her understanding, they didn't give any credit to the things they're appropriating. Now, I actually, I commented on my friend's post and said, I disagree with this article. First of all, I do think Vampire Weekend has stated very often that they are influenced by African music, but
also they shouldn't have to. Is my stance.
Right, they shouldn't have to. Yes, and
it's nice of them. It's thoughtful.
And more so, I think they're not even influenced by African music. I think they're just influenced by Paul Simon.
Graceland.
Well, Paul Simon is the interesting. What I used to hear was that Graceland was not appropriation. Again, I have no problem with, but apparently, and this is I heard this 50 years ago. Apparently, he exploited African musicians for the stuff that they did on the album, which I have no idea if that's true. That could have just been some.
Well, no, actually, I think that
Africans.
He actually put some of these African musicians on the map. Actually, he made them more well known on an international basis. Like, what was it? Lady Smith, Black Mambazo.
Because they were on his album, used extensively on it, they became famous in their own right, becoming world touring musicians. And so not only did he spread this music of theirs by incorporating it into his own pop aesthetic, but not only did he spread the word about them, but they also became... he spread the word about them, and so they became famous because of that.
Anyway, so I argued on this.
So whoever said that was wrong.
I argued on this Facebook post. Hey, I said my word, and this other person said, "No, you're totally wrong. You're never allowed to do this." I was like, "Why not?" I was like, "Well, then you just wouldn't even play the Beatles ever, probably." And the person said, it's the exact reason why I don't listen to the Beatles. I'm like, okay, you are just so ignorant and your line of thinking is so narrow-minded that you can't have a discussion with this kind of person.
You can't participate in discourse on social media.
Well, here's another. Okay,
I know you can't.
I'm going to just bring up two different examples.
But I mean, the thing is, the Beatles, they didn't not only were influenced by, blues music, but classical music, French music. I mean, they were influenced by so many different styles, and they incorporated it into their sound that was so eclectic that you just think,
yeah, no, it's a completely backward minded. It's like saying, okay, so we all acknowledge that you can't be an artist without being influenced by other things,
right?
Artists, right? So basically, what someone who is saying don't appropriate other cultures in art is don't patronize other cultures. Don't take an interest in other cultures,
right?
Because God forbid they'll influence you,
right?
And you'll use that in your work, and then you'll be accused of being an appropriator.
Right.
And
it's a compliment,
you're right
actually.
You're right to say we shouldn't have to credit the influences, because sometimes you are, unknowingly influenced, unaware that you're being influenced, but you are exactly patronizing these different styles.
You should be focused on making work, not like taking apart every single thing you do and thinking where it came from and all that.
Well,
kind of stuff.
here's where I'm just going to put a little. I'm just going to do a little counter argument here, play the devil's advocate a little bit. Pat Boone became really famous in the, I think, late 50s and early 60s, and he was appropriating songs by Little Richard and other black artists, but they were really watered down versions of them. And
was he appropriating them or was he covering them?
Well, okay, let's talk about the difference here. I mean,
I think covering is like you should be able to cover anyone as long as they're getting royalties for it, which I know a lot of them didn't at the time.
Yes, but here's the deal about that though is, well, he was covering them, yes, but the thing about it is, he became. I can understand some as a black artist at the time. He became, a big time seller. He was white and was able
big time seller. What a weird
record sales. And I know it was a weird thing to say, big time seller. But hey, big spender, hey, big seller, actually. I can understand maybe somebody who is a black artist thinking, this guy is able to play in all parts of the country, especially at that time, and using my song. And actually, Little Richard he wasn't very wise with his management of his, catalog when he was younger. So he wasn't getting the royalties, actually, from those things. And so, I can understand him feeling maybe probably resentful that, oh, why is this guy able to have his stuff played in all parts of America because he's white and I'm black and that's not able to happen for me? Now, history has done a good job, I think, of recognizing. Like, I didn't know about Pat Boone really until college, actually. Yet I knew about Little Richard since I was, little, actually. And I knew, the importance of Little...
Joey.
I knew the importance of Little Richard for a long time. And I think history has done a good job of recognizing the importance of Little Richard over the, I don't think anyone regards Pat Boone really with that much importance in music history. So
that's a good point.
Even though his daughter, Debbie Boone, was famous for her song "You Light Up My Life," which I believe was the #1 single of the 70s.
Not of the whole 70s.
According to Billboard magazine, I believe.
I don't believe that's true. I think in 1970s that year, 1978 or 1977 maybe. But anyway, I guess the point is I think it's different depending on the time period it's in. I'm sure. By the way, that article you're talking about, that you commented on Facebook, Nicky, the woman who wrote it, at the end of the article, she said, however, in the end, my father's music was meant for people to just enjoy. And if people are going to appropriate it and let the sound to just be enjoyed, then he did his job, and I'm okay with it in the end. She actually resolved in the end that it was okay.
Right. But which makes the whole article sort of pointless, maybe, but maybe not. Actually,
No,
in
it's
retrospect,
not. I
maybe
think
it's a talking through of your.
It's kind of just talking through
issues
your
with it.
feelings, and I also kind of understand. Maybe she also wants her father to be celebrated and just wants to put his name out there. Actually,
Yeah, okay.
hey, this person is, important.
But you could. My problem with the article was that she was saying that Weekend was directly influenced by her father's music, but they don't. She's just surmising that. She doesn't know that for sure. Anyway,
right. Well, also,
just because it sounds like.
Also, I think part of what America's like jazz music, for instance. I mean, that's been appropriated into so many different things. I mean, hip hop into. I know that's the cultures are the same there, but I mean, it's been appropriated into rock music, into all sorts of music, and jazz itself is an amalgamation of different styles of music. There's blues, there's Western classical music, there's Cuban music, there's ragtime, there's some folk even in there sometimes, and yes, I just think. And the funny thing about jazz, especially bebop, their original intention, although this might just be hearsay, was, Nicky's saying move on, but black people, I think they wanted to create a music that they can't play, basically, meaning white people, because they were unfairly compensated at the time, based on the color of their skin. But then eventually, white people had to hear it. They heard it, and some of them could play. And the black people were like, "Hey, got my hats off to these guys. Some of these guys can really cook." So, the music of it all trumped it all. It didn't matter. In the end, it was just, "Hey, the music's beautiful. We just let it be." I guess was the point. I guess something like that.
So what was that? Where does that fall into this whole thing?
I don't know.
I guess
he was
what I'm
rambling
saying,
for a while, and
I guess what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, in the end, those black musicians who were creating this music for themselves at first recognized in the end, well, if you can play it, then let it be. Just
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Wait, what are you trying to say? What?
I don't. Sure, maybe. I don't know. That seemed like a very simple. I don't know. I don't know where it lands on the appropriation.
What I'm saying is, white musicians were appropriating jazz, and they were okay with it in the end.
Who was they? You can't say they were.
The black musicians.
Maybe there were some who weren't okay.
Right, I know, Max. See you, yeah.
Oh, that's true, but I think
I don't think that would be the case today, though.
No, that's not true. There was that, like Charlie Parker, one of the innovators of bebop music. He played with white guys. He had Buddy Rich was in his band.
Of course,
but
I'm just saying
blanket
Charlie
statement.
Parker doesn't speak for all black musicians.
Right. Okay, that's fair, but I think
it's just like I don't even like I get it. Yes.
But what I'm saying is Charlie Parker as a representative
times over and over again.
Okay, but I'm saying Charlie Parker is a representative. He's probably the biggest representative of jazz, I would say. And same with Dizzy Gillespie. He played. I think
if you can use specific names, that's better.
Okay,
but I think
right.
But Max, you just did. We don't need to recover it. We've talked about this like one anecdote for the last 10 minutes.
All right, fair enough.
Finally, do we have closing thoughts? Or Max, you had another thing you wanted to say, right? You had 2 stories you wanted to tell.
I don't think Max could fit in 2 stories right now.
No, just what you were saying, though, by the way, just to say, I'm saying, yes, of course I can't speak for all black musicians.
No, of course.
Of course not.
Yeah.
You can't speak for or any other culture that's being appropriated. But the whole argument is that I'm saying we're speaking about our own opinion, right? Isn't that the whole idea here? Because in the end, you guys are arguing for the case that appropriation is fine, right? And other people are going to disagree with you, of course. So, and give maybe legitimate reasons as to why that they disagree, that not all cases. And we ourselves are giving some legitimate reasons why, appropriation can be insensitive at times, particularly with fashion choices, maybe. Is anybody getting this?
Right.
I don't know, I just feel like we're retreading a lot of ground right
We
now.
are retreading.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, in the end, well, yeah, this is a debate. We're going to have, of course.
I feel like we've lost the debate part. I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Well,
I don't know
we
what you're
lost it a
talking-
long time ago when I'm afraid you couldn't come up with arguments against your own feeling about it.
No,
right?
I think I made a pretty good point with the whole, like, it's not about what we can rationalize away. Okay, so this is my closing
About
argument.
being sensitive to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about, like, yes, we can rationally point to this goal of like living in a raceless society, but we're not there yet. And people carry their histories and their pains with them. And again, I would just go back to the specific example of, like, let's say a Native American person who's had their, let me finish, who's had their culture and their history taken away from them. And you see some, 20-year-old girl wearing a headdress and like making the war cry sound. And it's not, even if that person isn't intending to like caricaturize my culture, it's kind of like a fuck you to me, right? As that Native American person. That's my
right.
argument.
Well, I would say so. My clip, Max, you got to let everybody else speak.
I'm
here.
not. What are you talking about? Fred, by the way, most of the time, actually, I was letting you speak. But anyway, go ahead. I just had just one.
You got to agree. Max talked so long just now, right?
Yeah, I don't
but
want to like
that was the
gang
only,
up on him, but yes.
That was the only time that I was able to really speak, though. I really was letting
Well,
you
you're the
speak.
moderator. Well, whatever.
Well, the moderator should be able to speak, too. I mean, what are you talking about?
You
Anyway,
spoke. Don't worry.
I just want to. My closing argument would be, yes, I agree with you, Nickon, on that. We should be sensitive to the way different cultures feel about the appropriation. But I will say that I don't think the ultimate goal is that we live in a raceless society necessarily. I think that we live in a society where we can appreciate different cultures and we can celebrate them through our appropriation of those but to a point where maybe we're not completely void of sensitivity toward them, I guess,
Well,
right?
Or
I mean,
maybe the hope. Okay, let's because I think we're arriving at a consensus here. But it's like, it's not to live in a race-free society, but to live in a society where anybody of any identity has there's no memory, there's no recent enough memory of a pain for there to be any resentment when someone else appropriates your culture.
Okay, yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
I also will say that, like a white woman wearing this Native American headdress, just to support what you were saying, that woman is not celebrating necessarily what that headdress means in that culture. She's not celebrating it. Whereas somebody who might be appropriating a certain type of music is actually celebrating.
Sure. Or not even celebrating, but incorporating it into their aesthetic. So we're saying, I mean, yeah, I think that's a good point. That there are forms of appropriation. There's celebratory appropriation. There are mindless caricaturization appropriation. I guess that's another dimension of it. It's like, when appropriating, you should do it in a respectful way.
You should do it in an appropriate way.
In an appropriate.
Well, no, here's the thing, though.
Appropriate appropriation.
I almost kind of disagree with this. This white woman wearing a Native American headdress, I think with time, if she just likes the way it looks, and if she doesn't understand the meaning behind it necessarily, I don't know. I have a hard time grappling with the fact that that's wrong. I think that, sure, when we're in a time where that's still a touchy thing, maybe you have to understand what you're doing when you're wearing this. But eventually we do get to a point where, you could just wear anything, and if you like the way it looks, it's fine. It doesn't matter what it represented hundreds of years ago.
Wait, are you saying right now it's not appropriate right now because because of the marginalization?
It elicits these
minorities
feelings
and but in the future, when hopefully resolves in a certain way, in every way, then even though she's not respecting what that symbolizes, then it's okay. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Uh-huh.
But in the meantime, I just think it has to be done respectfully.
Right. It has to be done respectfully. Yeah.
Well, this is not a final, I guess we should just close it off right now.
We already did. Oh.
Well, I was just going to say, but what about for a while there was like those kind of kimono like tops, those were a big thing in fashion for a little bit. And that is a form of cultural appropriation, but I don't know. How do you feel about that? I know that's kind of
it's a good point, because like you fall into this like, well, can you blame someone for being ignorant? Like what if a kimono was some kind of like highly important thing that only a certain, like spiritual type of leader in a certain culture was allowed to wear, and here you are just buying it off the rack at H&M, not aware of it, you're just like, I like the pattern, I think I like the silkiness, I like whatever, I like the colors. I don't know, it's interesting.
Right. It actually reminds me of a Curb Enthusiasm episode where Larry teaches this boy, the son of the woman he's dating, about a swastika, and he doesn't know what the meaning of that is. Yeah. And he buys him a sewing machine for his birthday, and he ends up sewing a swastika, like a swastika patch, because he likes the way it looks. He has no idea it represents the Nazi party at all.
Innocent kid. He's like, I like the zigzag of it, or something.
That's the most extreme version of that. Yes,
that's the most extreme version of it.
Yeah, he's ignorant of the meaning behind this thing. But in a way, that there's something sort of.
Yes, but I will say the difference there is nobody, unless they are neo-Nazis. You're basically saying we're talking about appropriation here.
No, I know, but I'm just using this as an example of being ignorant about the meaning of.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, but
anyway,
I guess we can all agree, as Nickon said.
Yeah, I think we all. This is the closest we've come to like a consensus. Like I feel like we all kind of changed our positions all towards in the same direction.
Right. Well, perhaps we did need to do a little studying up a little bit before the episode, but we did it during the episode.
Well, never.
Yeah, I actually kind of settled on exactly what I think we had, what I came into it thinking about, actually, which is that in certain scenarios, it might be a little touchy of an issue, actually, and you should, be respectful about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes.
But if you like what you heard and saw today, make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on any other podcast platform, please rate and review us if you have that ability. Thank you for tuning into another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
So long.
So long.